Thank you, everyone. This is Kim Evans. I am so excited. I'm even more excited that you are here participating in this wonderful opportunity at the top of the new year with me. I am Kim Evans, and welcome to Inspired Conversations, my new podcast. I'm very, very excited because I have an awesome guest this evening, and we're going to share some beautiful nuggets. And I hope you all will be very inspired. And I hope that you're able to walk away with some few things that'll help you so that you can be inspired and transform in your life. So I am.
Beautiful. I'm inspired right there, Kim. I just gotta say, I mean, come on now.
you know,
Beautiful.
before I introduce who you are, Momar, what I love about your own stuff when you create your own stuff, take it away. It's the floor. It's okay, whatever. And I'm going to give you your props. I'm going to give you your props. So I want you to just bask in it. Just bask in it because that's
I will
part
do
of
that.
the spirit that God has given me to be able to illuminate and to be able to bring that inner beauty out of people. So I'm not, blowing smoke. When I do it, it's very, very, very real. So I want
Yes.
you to just enjoy all the glory that I'm about to give you. And it is authentic.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me and for using this amazing platform to really, really, shine a spotlight on people and such as myself. I'm here. Thank you.
You're
Excited to be
welcome.
here.
And thank you for saying yes to be my guest. So let me introduce you to this wonderful man, Momar Njai. Did I pronounce that correct?
Close. Njai. The
Najar?
N is silent. Yeah.
Okay.
Njai.
Najar. You guys, I might
Njai.
I might not say it correctly. Please forgive me.
It's okay.
Momar Najar. Momar is amazing. And I have my notes because I have notes. I'm going to take notes. Momar is an investor. He's a tech visionary, a philanthropist, an architect of the project Vibranium. Oh, we're going to talk about that. Oh my God. The founder of the Mansa Group and the Mansa Foundation. Not only that, he's an author.
Trying
He's
to do
the
a few
author.
things.
He's the author of this wonderful book, and I'm so excited. It's called Shadows of Exile, Return of the African King.
It sounds really good. See,
Doesn't it? It's a
it
good
absolutely
story.
does.
And we're going to
Yes.
get into it. And I'm so honored because I have a personal book copy signed by the author. So, Mr. Momar, take it away. Share
Yes, as
who
I
you are.
mentioned, Kim, thanks for having me. So thanks for the warm introduction as well.
Yes.
As you mentioned, I'm an author, investor, I'm a philanthropist, tech nerd, if you will. Brains behind this project
We
called
like
Project
tech nerds. We
Vibranium.
like tech nerds.
But I'm a super passionate guy about really some cool things like, elevating our people. I'm from Africa originally, Gambia, a very small country in West Africa. We've got about a couple of million people there. Grew up in a very wealthy family in Africa. Something tragic happened. There was a coup that happened in 94, and my family was exiled to the US. I've been here for the last 23 plus years. So we went from this, super wealthy, powerful family that had all this prestige and wealth that you can imagine, to having to leave everything behind and all of a sudden being exiled in the US and kind of finding myself out here in a foreign land without my family, without really anything, no money, and trying to find myself. So basically, what I see myself as is a person that has really gone through trials and tribulations of life, a person that went from a wealthy background to someone that's really humbled by life and kind of gone through a lot of experiences, including homelessness and living as a nameless immigrant in the US, to someone that's being very successful in Silicon Valley, just spent 6 years over at Apple here in the Bay Area, became an investor and kind of did well over time. But also, I just see myself as a person that's got a lot of perspective and experience and wants to kind of change the world to a certain point, and very, very passionate about the developing markets and emerging markets, and kind of passionate about seeing how people do well.
Okay. That's a TED talk. That's a TED that's all that is a TED talk.
All
That's a
right, let's
TED
do
talk.
it.
So we're going to reverse.
Eventually.
I'm going to break that down a little bit and bite-sized pieces because we got to get to technology. But before we do that, I just wanted to let the viewers know I'm very, very I'm excited when I meet authors. I'm even more excited when I meet African American authors. And the reason why, and when I meet people that are that way, I'm just like this. This is why when I was introduced to Momar, it's like, oh my God, he has a book. We got to talk. Because, and let me just give you just a little bit of information. It's like where the diversity in publishing is going in 2019. Where did it go? So I had pulled some stats. The industry overall, when we look at race and gender and orientation, 76% of the authors are white. 74% are CIS women, which is those women who are categorized as trans women, intersex, or transgenders. Then it's 81% straight, and then 89% disabled. But what I wanted to pull this stat really is just to tell you why I was motivated to do this kind of a show, not only just to share his awesomeness, is that 76% of authors are white and Caucasian, 7% are Asian, 6% are Latino, Mexican. Only 5% are Black. 3% are biracial, and 1% is American Indian. So the methodology behind the madness, we asked the question is, what is going on with our Black authors? Why are we not writing? Why are we not telling our stories? Why are Black book companies just going under, and what is that going to do to our youth? So I was inspired behind that. So I just wanted to ask one quick question as I lead you through the podcast, is that what was your inspiration to say, in addition to all this wonderful background, because we're going to get into the tech, because I know people want to ask about
Yeah.
tech. They Silicon Valley, they're going to eat you up.
Yes.
Is what inspired you to become a book writer?
Wow, very interesting question. So, for the first time when I published a book in my life, I had a moment to really reflect on my personal journey and my experiences. And everything happens for a reason. So, I was out on back surgery for a couple of months. I was off of work, and you can only watch so many, Netflix movies, etc. But it's a story that I've always wanted to tell based on my own journey. It's a story that always kind of haunted me. I figured at some point I'll do this, when I'm 80 years old and retired and something. But essentially, I had this 2-month period of a break that, because of the back surgery, I wasn't able to really work. I wasn't able to drive much. I was not able to do a lot of chores, etc. All I could really do is just kind of lie on the bed pretty much and stare at the ceiling, right? Or watch Netflix or what have you. But I was trying to figure out what to do with the time. And again, as I mentioned, the story kind of haunted me. And it was really important for me to put the story out there because as I began to reflect on my own journey as far as where I started and to how far I had gotten and all the different obstacles that I had overcome, I thought to myself, what if there is some other person out there that has gone through or is going through similar struggles, not just as an immigrant, but also as a person of color, to go through and face so much challenges, so many obstacles that are put in your way, so much discrimination, and so on and so forth, but really to try to inspire hope in them, because at some point as I reflected on my life, I feel like I was able to kind of get to all of that stuff. And if there's a person that can help inspire, or my story helps inspire, for them to be able to relate to or know that they're not the only one that's kind of gone through it and somehow I was able to make it through, it was really worth putting the story out there. Now, that being said, it was pretty hard to actually put the story out there because there was a lot of personal things in there as well that I kind of put in the book. And of course, I wasn't quite sure what my family or how my family was going to react to it, quite honestly. But I feel like it was more important to put the story out there again, to inspire people, to have hope, whatever it is that they're going through. That was more important than whatever personal price I had to pay for putting my story out there.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as the point that you mentioned about diversity, I didn't really see a lot of our stories out there, quite frankly. As you mentioned, the statistic that you pointed out, are pretty staggering to me, but also at the same time, we just take the time to put our stories out there and also kind of share our experiences and our narrative and kind of take ownership of exactly how we are portrayed and not just let someone else kind of write our stories, but we can kind of take charge and do it ourselves. Does that make sense?
Well, I think that's fantastic because most techies are introverts, and you seem to appear to be a mixture of both,
Yes.
outgoing and ingoing, and that makes it really unique for you. So, tiptoe, how did you get into tech, and how did you find your way into Silicon Valley at Apple? Because that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was quite a journey. The whole process took about 20 years.
20
Not to
years.
scare anyone. 20 years, the whole journey
Omar,
itself.
20 years.
But I started off working really odd jobs in the U.S. when I first got here. I started working at grocery stores, working at gas stations, working at shoe stores. Just kind of basically ran zero as far as the economy is concerned. But one of the key things I realized early on, because I had a good education, again, my family had money at the time, was that one of the keys to being able to be successful was education. And the other piece of it too was kind of looking at the environment and figuring out where things were going to go. So when I got to the US, it was 97. This was right around the time that the computer revolution was just kind of getting started. So I knew that computers were the future, right? And technology was the future. And the key thing was trying to educate myself about technology. So I tried to go to the library and basically figure out, get some books, try to figure out how computers work, got a few, broke them down, figured out what the processes were, et cetera, but also started going into school, building my career over time. And again, the journey to Apple has been a very, very long one per se, but there was a lot of determination, a lot of focus, a lot of sacrifices that others were not really willing to make to ultimately be able to end up at a company like Apple, where I spent about 6 years or so. But it was a very long journey. Took a long time, determination, hard work, and really persistent to kind of see through whatever obstacles and challenges I had to go through and overcome to be where I am today.
So what area did you land at Apple specifically? What do you do?
So I am in what I would say project/program management, and I would describe that as managing a lot of large initiatives for Apple. As your audience will probably know, Apple's a very secretive company, so not able to really disclose a whole lot beyond that.
Understand.
But
Because people would want to ask, they would want to know,
yeah.
is he a app developer? I mean, is he an engineer? Computer. So they want to know, well, what exactly does he do at Apple?
Exactly. I really love what I do. And basically, as a program manager/project manager, I get to work with engineering, I get to work with marketing, I get to work with logistics, operations, and pretty much marketing and so many other groups at Apple that gets you insights into how these other teams different work and also how the company kind of operates. But I'm not able to disclose a whole lot more about it, but it's really, really cool.
I understand. Are you happy?
Absolutely happy, thrilled. Apple's an amazing company, transformational on so many levels.
I mean, you could go anywhere in the world.
You can definitely go anywhere in the world for sure. And, I was lucky enough to find a company who I feel like my personal values really align with them in terms of diversity that we just kind of talked about, in terms of the environment, in terms of, technology, and really ultimately building great products and services for customers. Any company can go out there and say, we're going to build the best products and services, or we're going to be all about customer service, et cetera. But when you're really in there, what you realize, this is, I guess, a secret in some ways, but not so secret at all, is that Apple, for the most part, really delivers on its promises in terms of putting its customers first, and its focus on products that are excellent, service, design, et cetera, et cetera. Like they really, really kind of carry through and kind of walk the walk, if you will. They really, truly do.
Oh, we could see that with the lines of people out at the Apple stores every time you come up with a new generation.
Real authentic stuff.
Absolute diehard, no matter what. And it doesn't even matter the price point. It doesn't even matter at this point. They'll pay it. So, I'm a holistic health coach. I am in the beauty business, so I must ask this question. So, Momar, how do you wind down? At the end of the day or during the weekend, and I mean, your brain is always, being in an innovative fashion. What do you do to wind down?
Yeah, so the weeks are pretty intense for me, actually, because I have a lot going on, right? So I'm an author, investor. I have Project Vibranium, working a regular job like everybody else, 40 hours, 60 hours a week and stuff. And I don't even try to wind down. I just basically crash. I work, 15, 16 hours a day with, if you factor in all the different projects that I talked about. On the weekends, I try to, go out and have a good time with my buddies, of course, but this was before COVID. So what I try to do is, a little bit of reading sometimes to kind of wind down. And just kind of try to take it easy and relax a little bit. And honestly, I need to work on it a little bit more because I have so many different projects going on. I do love going to the beach, just, comes from, I guess, growing up in Gambia. We're right on the Atlantic Ocean, so I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's therapy for me to just go by the beach, the water, kind of hear the waves kind of crashing on the shores. It's very, very therapeutic for me. So I like to kind of just go out, escape a little bit, and just kind of detox a little bit. I like to travel as well to wind down whenever I get a chance to. But for the most part, I'm pretty busy usually, and I don't really wind down. I just crash down because I'm so busy.
We can tell you're a tech. We can
Yeah.
tell you're a true tech. You need a massage, Momar. You need a massage.
I do.
You need a massage.
Hook me up. Anyone out there, hook me up.
So listen, let's get a little bit into some questions I wanted to ask you. What is one thing that you wish you had known before you wrote your book?
Ooh. Oh my God. Honestly, so I wrote a book in a complete vacuum, and meaning I didn't do any research about what makes a bestseller. I didn't really make or do any research about how to write a book. I didn't do any research, quite frankly. And if I knew all the different things that went into publishing a book, actually, I probably wouldn't have done it because there's so much to the process. I mean,
but aren't you glad you did it though?
I'm so glad that I did it, but it's just like there was a lot to do, quite honestly. So I'm talking about things like the cover, the font, all these different nuances that you don't really think about, right? The aesthetics of it.
That's what you
How it
hired
looks.
somebody to do for you.
I know how it feels like, and I feel like the big publishing houses, they have like a whole army of people that kind of really do it. But for this book, it was a really personal thing for me because it was my story, and I wanted to kind of do it on my own, but also in a vacuum. But had I known all this other stuff, I would have done it. But I'm glad I didn't really know what it took to actually publish a book, because had I known, it probably would have discouraged me a little bit. But again, looking back in retrospect, looking at all the different reviews, and just to kind of hear people's reactions when they read the book, for them to be able to say, wow, I never really knew this is what immigrants kind of go through, or I didn't really know much about, African history, or I didn't really know anything about Mansa Musa, for example, which we'll get into in a minute, I'm sure. But it really, really makes it worth it, for me.
But also, too, Momar, you self-published this book.
I did.
This is a self-published book. You didn't go through some of the big-time publishers. You self-published this book. That says a lot. That's huge. That's huge. It's huge.
Yes.
Right, we're gonna pause. We're gonna pause. That's huge.
Yeah.
You self-published the book. It's huge.
Well, honestly.
So what would you say, real quickly, what has been the biggest failure?
Books that were published or was published by publishers, but even better as much as possible. So it's really good quality in terms of what went into it. And I guess, as I mentioned, the reviews are super awesome, and just
we're gonna get to
seeing people react to the book.
Oh, absolutely. Is there anything
really made it worth it?
Is there anything? What would you say has been your biggest failure, and what would you say, in writing the book, and maybe in what you've learned from it? So we know that the aesthetics of it is it anything else? Is this, oh God, I failed at that. I would do this differently, or at Apple. Maybe do you think that you would have taken another road in tech or did something different, or maybe wouldn't work for Google or for Twitter, or do you think that you was
definitely no. Yeah, I couldn't have thought of a different company to work for, a better company besides Apple, quite honestly, because I feel like 5.5 years, almost 6 years spending there, were pretty magical because I learned so much about creating something that was really, really important, something really amazing that really delights customers that I feel like I'll be able to kind of use and apply that, for the rest of my life, right? But also I got a chance to work with some really, really smart, amazing, passionate people as well. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's passionate people everywhere in the Valley, per se, but Apple's a very special place. In terms of the book and other mistakes that I feel like I make, there's a few things I kind of see sometimes, but maybe a little space here and there that no one else notices what I do.
I love it.
So it's an evolving process, right? But at the same time, I feel like those are kind of learning things that I kind of build on. Mm-hmm. So I think everyone has a book or story in their head that they want to publish or kind of want to put out there, but they're kind of waiting for it to be perfect. So the book is going to continue to evolve at some point, I feel like. And, like I said, if I see like an extra space somewhere, it's like, oh, darn it, But at the same time, it's out there. And honestly, people are so fascinated and so captivated by the story. No one else really notices these things, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I do have I do have this. I have to ask you, who are three people that have been the most influential to you in helping to write this book?
Okay, so in helping to write the book, I would say my editors actually were, pretty significant in terms of kind of helping the story evolve from a story that I wanted to tell to helping kind of force me to have it be a story that I just didn't want to tell, but also having it be a story that's amazing and really thrilling and really a page turner that people would be able to read and continue to kind of latch on from the first page to the very last page.
Oh, they do. Like they do just that. Yeah, they do just that.
They do.
So your editor and who would be your second?
Definitely.
Editor's one. Your second.
Yeah, the second thing I would say.
Second person.
The second person. Wow, I would say probably, and this is my sort of my parents, if you will, my my family that kind of helped shape who I was as a person in terms of my perspective and kind of wanting to share that piece of it as well, as far as my journey, etc., and just kind of having this value system that kind of instilled in me to really kind of help me inspire me to kind of write the book and also kind of be true to myself as well. So that's like number two.
And the third person?
The third person, I would say, or third persons, honestly, are the readers. People like yourself that have really gone to support the book, and of course, this kind of came later, but I get a lot of satisfaction from that. I get a lot of satisfaction from people all over the world, like from Dubai and Greece and Romania and Germany and Norway and all these other places that, for a self-published book, honestly, like getting a note.
Self-published, you guys.
Right? Saying, oh my God, your story reminded me of my grandfather's journey, or I cried during this part because it reminded me of how I had to flee Afghanistan or whatever, and the book getting traction and getting all this attention from readers because people are kind of supporting it, that's really, really amazing. So that's like a third part of the book, I would say, that really I'm very grateful for.
So your editor, your parents, and your viewers.
And my readers.
Your readers, your viewers, your readers. I think that is great. So Momar, let me ask you, let's set this up. So you are born in Gambia, and Gambia, Africa, which for those people who don't know is Western Africa. And Gambia is kind of neighboring to Senegal, which borders the Atlantic coast. I've never been to Senegal. Yes. Actually, I haven't been to Africa, but I'm definitely going to have it on my map. So how beautiful of a country is that? How beautiful is? I've never met anyone from Gambia.
Gambia is absolutely beautiful. It's amazing. They call it the smiling coast of Africa. We're right on the Atlantic coast. We have amazing beaches, white sand beaches there. The people are amazing, by the way. Gambia is a very small country, 2 million people, and set up very, very small, actually, much smaller than that. It's a place that prides itself in community, values such as respect, doing the right thing, love, loyalty, honor, and so many different things that makes us really hospitable. So for those of you that are not familiar with Gambia, definitely check it out. It's a great place to visit.
Well,
I would encourage your audience to do that. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. I'm very excited. So I am going to read just the inside cover real quickly. I'm going to set this up. I'm going to set up.
Sure.
On the eve of the Millennium King's announcement of a plan to help all in the nation prosper, his cunning brother commits an unspeakable act with the royal house of Mansa in turmoil. Musa, the young heir to Africa's richest and most powerful dynasty, is forced to flee from his home in fear of his life. What he finds beyond Mali's borders is the world that does not know and doesn't care that he was once part of a great country's wealthy and well-traveled elite. Stripped of
Yes.
all the holds dear, including his identity. Oh man. Musa seeks safe harbor amidst the throng of equally imperiled migrants, vulnerable to smugglers, cons, and indifferent government organizations to survive. He must reinvent himself. Reinvent himself. Hint, hint.
Yes.
But at what cost? I love the insight. Momar, oh my God, was born in Gambia's prominent Niger family of the Lion House following a military coup in 1994. Several members of the family, including Momar, went into exile. Shadows of Exile is a novel inspired by his experiences. Like
Yeah.
Musa, Momar arrived in the United States penniless. Like many immigrants, he lived in the shadows at first. He credits the kindness, the open heartedness, the goodwill of the people he met along his journey for his survival and eventual success. Hence today. Oh my God. Now, before we get into the story and you share the story, because I got to get up right here. I love the cover of this book. It's just amazing. Just the
Thank
cover of the
you.
book is left. But then when you see your beautiful shadow, I mean, it just touches Jesus. I mean, it's just great. Smile. Gee whiz.
Yeah, that's definitely
You just,
stirred quite
oh
a
God,
bit of attention right
you
there.
just gotta pick it up when you see this on the back. So
You know,
thank God to your editor on that. He did
yes,
real good on that one. So Momar,
absolutely.
I was so excited. I had to pull a couple of some. It's so wonderful when we can have happy praises and people can really understand really the nuts and bolts of your work and your experience. So one of the readers wrote, these are happy praises. Amazing Najee did a very good job with this work. It is a full of suspense. He develops characters. The plot is very well. This is the first book he has ever written and published. And I hope that it will not be the last. And when I turn to the back of the last chapter, I hope it's not the last either. In this book,
Yeah.
had my complete attention from the page one, unlike other royal historical fiction. Oh, poor me, I am being blamed for the French Catholics. I thought this one was really funny. I was drawn into a hoop of ideas of a young ruler who has his father's wisdom and an actual actionable plan to help his people. Oh my God, I recommend this to fans of the Black Panther,
Yes.
historical fiction lovers, the royal family in England. Oh my
Yes.
God, it's a must read. Shadows of Exile Memoir begins as a story, as a portrayal, and is rooted as one of the 70 deadly sins. What I love about this is you tell your story. We all have a story to tell. Storytelling, folklore was some of the things that we did.
Yeah.
Right? Right?
Absolutely.
To keep us connected as a people, as a culture. Okay, I got to read a couple more. Definitely recommend. This is a must read book. This will change your life. I don't like reading books, but after the first few pages, I was so hooked, I couldn't stop reading and I couldn't put it. I tell you, I finished the whole book in less than 2 weeks. It didn't take me that long, but you know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's a turn pager. I just love it. When you read and you go back and you read some of these reviews, Momar, how does this make you feel by your accomplishment and experience of this book? That got to make you feel pretty hella good. How does that make you feel?
Oh man, it's surreal. It makes me feel hella good. And it's also pretty emotional as well, quite honestly, in a really good, positive way, because, when you put something that's so personal out there, with the intention of trying to, again, raise social consciousness and awareness about some of the things that you've kind of dealt with personally, in my case, immigration, and kind of really trying to humanize that experience, but also integrating that with a lot of like rich African history around royalty and Black royalty and excellence, etc. Like it's pretty moving to kind of see people's reaction to your work that you've put a lot of time and effort into, that you take personal, but also just it feels really really good, honestly, and it's very very emotional, and I do pinch myself sometimes because when I even before I published the book, even before I wrote it, I really did have a honest conversation with myself, and I was like, you know what? If one person reads a copy of this book and somehow relates to it, or finds any value in it, or finds it inspiring, right, or learns anything from it, that's a success for me. That's one. If I sold one copy, that's what I told myself. Oh, like that's success for me right now. And it just kind of blew up ever since I published it, and it just continues to go, even further. to a point where this is before COVID. There was someone that read it in LA, who basically was like, you know what, we have to turn this book into a movie. I'll be your agent. I'll represent you.
I've already
And
see.
start pitching
Look,
it to the
speak it,
studios
speak
and
it. I've
stuff.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah, speak it. Oprah, are you watching? Tyler, are you watching
Yes.
this?
Tyler,
Okay,
Oprah, you
all
guys are
right.
out there. Give us a call.
Conversations with Kim podcast. Okay, you're watching.
Yes.
So let me ask you, in the beginning, at the opening chapter, the king, night after night, he stayed awake, staring at his throne, thinking about the many responsibilities that he bore and wondering whether he would ever have the chance to fulfill his greatest desire in life. What I love about this is that here it is. You have a king throne, almost like King Solomon, greater as King Solomon at that time, and everything at your foothold. And the one greatest thing that you're still missing, that you're still desiring. And from what I gathered, from what I've read here,
Yeah.
his one thing that he missed, that he was not able to do, and that was to travel and to see the world. And so that's what started, right? So take us from that, when the king decides to say, hey, I'm going to take a sabbatical off my throne and I'm going to go travel. And in
Yes.
the meantime, you're going to have someone else that I am going to authorize that's going to run this country. And
Yes.
that gets into the story, the background story of this. So what was your thoughts, or your feelings, when it's like, wow, when you're just this elite but your heart is missing something, and you make a decision to say, you know what, I'm going to trust that who I have and who I have dictated that's going to run this nation, this country, they'll do all right. I'm
Yeah.
going to take a vacation. I'm going to step down. How many emperors do you know do that? And it
I
was
know.
an
Very rare.
indefinite time. And it was an indefinite time. He wasn't like, I'm going to go for 2 weeks. I'm going to come back, as a matter of fact. Right. So take us to the beginning
Absolutely.
of that story. That's the beginning of your book.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of lessons in there. And I feel like to a certain point, we're all kind of under pressure to pursue a lot of things that, maybe our parents want us to do, or our friends or our spouses or significant others kind of want us to do. And we get so kind of caught up in chasing that, whatever it is, that sometimes we never really get a chance to reflect and really pursue what it is that we really want to do, what we're passionate about. And trust me, growing up in Gambia, in Africa, and on the influence of my parents and stuff, it's like there's all this pressure. Like, it kind of comes from, being a very, coming from a very successful family, to be a doctor, lawyer, etc., because it's what everyone expects of you. But I think at the same time, it was important for, in this case, Abubakar, to really follow his passion, because he wasn't about the glory, he wasn't about the status, right? And I think for most of us, in those situations, like, what would we do? Would we really give up the throne and really pursue our passion? But he was willing to kind of make that sacrifice and really pursue his passion. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that was an important lesson for me that I want to kind of relate to the book reader and the audience, is like, having the courage to really follow your dreams and not what someone else wants you to
Mm-hmm.
do, or what someone else defines as your dream. And also having the responsibility to kind of find the right person to kind of fill in this space, which turned out to be Musa Ketta, who then was a young man at the time, who over time wasn't really sure. Well, initially he wasn't quite sure if he could really step into these shoes, right?
So give us the
Of
synopsis
looking
of the.
over
So he's
the
starting.
kingdom.
So you're starting. Give us a synopsis of the story.
Yes,
Synopsis of the story. Okay.
absolutely. And so Musa Keita was a young man who's like, he wasn't really ready for that, but because his uncle kind of put him in a situation where he had to kind of look over the kingdom, he kind of struggled with whether or not he was ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
And, without giving away too much of the story, essentially Musa Keita became Mansa Musa, which is who we now know, or, some of us know, which I hope we continue to know who Mansa Musa was. We recognize him as this great king and stuff, but before he became Mansa Musa, the great king, the richest man that ever lived, that even Puff Daddy was talking about, I just posted about on my Instagram page recently. He was Musa Keita first. He was a young man that was not experienced, that became King Mansa Musa, having gone through the trials and tribulations. He wasn't quite ready yet. And again, for me, there were some lessons there as well. It's like, you don't always kind of get a chance to decide when you can step up and kind of fill in the role, or kind of step into your kingdom and kind of oversee things, if you will, when you decide it, right? Sometimes we kind of get forced in a situation and we kind of grow and we kind of learn from that. that was pretty important for me as well, as far as an arc or a way to kind of inspire people to kind of step up and really, get out of their comfort zones and take on more responsibilities, even if we're not sure, if we're not ready for that next promotion yet, or the next job or
Absolutely.
next career change. We got to keep pushing. That was pretty important for
So
me.
let me ask you, a coup happens, and so he has to flee the country. And so how take us from that, just briefly, not to get all into the story, from how he has to flee Africa and he comes to the United States, which he could have chosen any place, but how and why the US?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a story based on a true story. So the U.S. has always been a special place, not just to me as an immigrant, growing up in Gambia, but I feel like to people all over the world, and it's always kind of been the prime destination because of the American dream and how amazing this country has been, the greatest country in the world, the land of opportunity. And I know that in recent
Supposedly,
years,
yeah. Uh-huh.
there's all this political stuff that's kind of come up, obviously, which we're not going to get into probably.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
in my experience, which kind of dictated sort of where the main character ended up, and of course, this is where I ended up as well, is America's always kind of been that, that shooting star that all immigrants, I feel like, aspire to be. Is a lot of opportunity where we can really transform ourselves and kind of live the American dream or whatever version it is that we have.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that place that we all kind of aspire to. So that's what determined, obviously, where the character ended up, and of course, that's where I ended up as well. In terms of the specific reasons why Musa ends up here, it's not an overnight process. He basically has to make this journey from Africa through Europe, right,
Got
and
it.
then to the
Got it.
U.S.
Got it. Got it.
And it's
All right.
not,
I was just
trust me, it
trying to see
doesn't.
that. I was just trying to
Yeah,
see that connection.
absolutely. And
Okay.
trust me, he doesn't get on the first class
Okay.
flight over here. Okay.
So so part of that you
Yeah,
have to read. You would have to read that in the book.
absolutely. It's a
But
very treacherous journey. Personally, it took
yeah.
2 years. The coup, so the coup in Gambia was in '94. I didn't get to the U.S. until '97, by the way. So just to give you some perspective, as far as I wanted to make sure that the audience was really immersed into the story
Hmm.
and had a really good appreciation for what that experience is like for immigrants in other countries to actually arrive to the
Yes.
US. Again, it's not
Yes.
a first class flight.
Yes.
A lot of these immigrants have to get on
Yes.
these migrant boats, on these uncharted oceans. It's very dangerous. Half of them never even make it, etc.
Yes.
So can you imagine, like,
Yes.
or people crossing the border and stuff through the
Right.
desert and on the tunnels, and I mean, so many other reasons,
Yes.
or trying to be smuggled into
Mm-hmm.
trucks and with food and all that other stuff. But you have to read the book to get more into how he does it. But yeah, it definitely was important for me to showcase that journey and how dangerous it could possibly be, and the reader kind of understands that journey that immigrants take to get here, and
Wow.
also to have an appreciation for
Mm.
the fact that you're here as well, because a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
never even make it. So that was
Wow.
important.
And Musa
Yeah.
has a brother in the book, Hazma. So at some point in time, you guys got separated. In the book, the brothers get separated. And then at some point in time, I love the way that you paint that story eloquently. How it's kind of like you wake up in the morning, we don't know what it is that we're born in here, and it's like, oh my God, you go outside, and are you going to have an officer that's going to deport you back? And to be able to every day, you have that on your mindset. You have to be under a lot of stress every single day thinking like that, and especially when family is kind of like divided, you don't know what
Yes.
family is. So they had to be an awesome, awesome point in the book when the family unites at that moment. What do you think was going through Musa's experience or heart when it's like, oh my goodness, there's a reconciliation of family at one point?
Yeah.
That's at
No,
the
I
book.
mean, family, yeah, family is a huge part of the book, obviously a huge part of my life as well. Like, kind of shapes all of us to a certain point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was really important to also have the reader kind of experience what family can be like, but also, to
Wow.
appreciate even more because not everyone gets a chance to stay with their family. As you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
there's a separation that happens between the brothers, etc. And of course, even before the brothers even get separated, there's a whole lot of family dynamics that happen
Mm-hmm.
within the story as well, in terms of separation and the fact that they're not all together. Because remember, the main character Musa does lose everything,
Yeah.
including his identity as well, right? So having to kind of reinvent himself and kind of live life, which is very, very different from what he was used to. I mean, this was the heir to the Mansa Musa throne, which is,
Mm-hmm.
nothing to be said lightly at all, to being in a situation where, again, he's separated, from his family and stuff. So that was really, really important. As far as like the reunion, again, without giving away too much, not exactly a happy family reunion per se. He's super excited when it happens, but again, there's some things that kind of happen that causes him to kind of wonder what's really, really going on. So it's like a bittersweet moment where he's super excited to kind of reunite with his brother, but at the same time, he's kind of concerned about the conditions that he kind of sees his brother in, and he's trying to figure out exactly what's going on and sort of what happened.
But I
So the,
love
the readers have to kind of tune in to see what happened or read the book.
but I love the fact that's a good ending. I won't say like to say the ending, but at least like, oh my God, there's a reconciliation. We know
Yeah,
that, so many oftentimes, especially families that are coming here, there's no reconciliation. There's just not. So
yes,
let me also ask you, Momar, thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Um, when is the last time, how is Gambia now? How is it? Have you, your family
yeah. My
back
family's doing much better
now?
now.
Mhm.
So the last time I was in Gambia was 2017, but I hadn't really visited much, honestly, in the last like
Okay.
23 years. I've only been there twice. When I left initially because of the political situation, I couldn't really go back for a long
Got it.
time.
Got it.
So Jammeh, who is the former president of Gambia, he lost the election in 2017
Okay.
after ruling the country as a dictatorship for 22 years.
Wow.
So he ruled the country. He was dictator with an iron fist. He did all kinds of really crazy things, alleged crazy things, human rights abuses, etc. And that was part of the reason why we had to leave. He lost the election in 2017, and you'll never really guess who oversees the elections of Gambia. He happens to be my father, actually.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of karma lessons, if you will, because they wanted my dad to change the results of the election. He refused to do so, by the way, which is
Wow.
why he ended up, having to leave the country.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, who knew? Like 22 years after Jammeh was kind of sworn in, and well, not really sworn in, but basically he took over the country, that he would basically be forced to leave because of something that he did like 22 years ago. So there's a lot of
Wow.
karma related things and a kind of circle of life things that happen. And that's happened in my own personal life. I want to make sure we're also kind of telling the story as well. So just without again giving away too much. When we did well, my parents always made sure that we took care of people that needed that had less than us.
Mm-hmm.
That we donated food from the hotels to the hospitals, and because they didn't want them to go to waste.
Right.
Everyone that came to our house was always welcome, whether they wanted food, water, a place to stay, etc. And sure enough, after the coup happened, I was forced to leave. I was again forced to come to the U.S. with nothing, and there were many, many times that I was hungry out in the streets and stuff, and people would kind of take me in and
Wow.
kind of
Wow.
give me that kind of love that my parents kind of give to others. It's
Mm.
like here
Mm.
no one really knew what was going to happen. Like you never know how you travel in life, as they say. And
Wow.
again, who knew that while we were giving people in line food and
Mm-hmm.
money to take care of themselves and stuff, when things were good for us, that someday we would be in line, as well. So you
Mm.
just never really know how you travel in life. And I think it was really important to kind of showcase in the book as well, as far as how you travel in life and how you always try to do the right thing, because you just never really know how it's going to come back. If it's not you directly, it's going to be your kids or grandkids, or it's going to circle back some kind of way. So you'll find a little bit of that in the
So
book
I
as well.
so I think that you've actually discussed and mentioned a lot of life learned lessons and themes that people can walk away with and be
Absolutely,
inspired from your book.
a
Is
lot.
there, yes. Is there anything else that you would like to mention why reading your book can help to change someone's life?
Wow, for me, it was about humanizing the human experience
Yeah.
was one, the immigration experience, because a lot of people didn't really quite know what it is that we kind of go through.
Ooh, it's a
I
challenge.
also
Yeah.
wanted to make sure people had a better appreciation for what it is that they have. As the old saying says, you never really know the value of something until you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Before, we all used to be able to go out, see each other, go to restaurants, go to dinner, before COVID and just hug a
Exactly.
person, right? Now we can't
Exactly.
really do all that stuff, without a mask and all those other things. And like just being able to go out and actually sit down and eat. You didn't have to think about these things before, but now it's gone.
Exactly.
You really have a bit of appreciation for it. So that was one thing that I really wanted to make sure that I kind of hit home with the book was that. The other thing too is, the historical importance of, Mansa Musa, his legacy, in terms of Black royalty, Black excellence, and people of color. Because, again, growing up, in Africa was pretty different because we were taught about, Black royalty and stuff. So we had a good sense of sort of where we came from. But I feel like in the Western world, it was important to kind of put the narrative as well, because I feel like as people of color, we're not always kind of told our true origins or roots, the fact that we all are descendants of greatness, I like to say, and that was important to kind of put in the book as well for us to kind of see ourselves as royalty and descendants of
And I
Mansa
think
Musa and others,
I think you did a good job doing that. I mean, Black identity. I
Absolutely,
think you did an
because that really
excellent job.
matters. That
This
really,
needs
really
to be in
matters.
public schools, by the way. In my next Look Good Feel Great program, I teach a Look Good Feel Great program to middle school and high school African American students on an after school program, and this actually is going to be my next gift to my students
Awesome, awesome,
when I have
awesome. Yeah,
them.
a lot of schools have
Especially,
kind of reached
oh
out
my
and
gosh,
expressed
it's
interest
wonderful. So
in
when we
that.
term of as we get to the end of this beautiful conversation, what is next for Mr. Momar? I'd like to know in terms of your next legacy. We all know there's going to be a part two in the book. I don't even have to, it is going to be a part two of the book, right? It's going to be a part two.
Yes, I mean, that isn't even a question. I feel like people are basically stating a fact right now.
There's a
and
part two.
and
You have to,
after this,
because the
yeah,
way you
after
ended the book is a part two.
trust me,
I'm like,
they,
okay, wait a
yeah,
second. What
people
is
are
there
not
a
asking me
part
if there are
two?
a part two. They basically say, okay, so when is the part two?
It's a part two.
So
It's a
there's no
part two.
option at all for me at all. Like I gotta
Oh,
do it sometime, very
it's
soon, right?
it's
So don't worry
definitely.
about it. I got you covered. Um,
I'm like, it's definitely a part two. But
yeah,
I
that's
think you're already starting this legacy. I'm just going
yeah.
to read
Thank
right
you.
here. I have my notes here, and I think this is amazing. If you could just tiptoe a little bit, and then we will actually wrap this up. By 2030, Africa will be the home to 1.7 billion people, whose combined consumer and business spending will be a total of 7.3 trillion. We believe our passion, technology, values, and team will make us the Amazon of Africa. And this is your master group of companies based master group of companies. This is your
Yes,
investment company.
correct.
So share
It
just a
is.
tad bit about what you do here. This is the investment. This is the investment side of your company.
It is. So that's Project Vibranium, which the Mansa Group is as part of. The
Love it.
vision is,
Love
there's
it.
like 35 different industries, 35 different companies with one vision. And, when you spend 23 years in the United States, from the very bottom, ground zero, if you will, and you get a lot of experience, you get a lot of education, you learn a lot, but you also get a lot from people that kind of allow you to grow and give you so many opportunities as well to kind of achieve success eventually, right? For me, it's like, I don't want to be that person that kind of makes it through and kind of holds on to it, and sits in a mansion and does nothing else with my life. It's about giving back. It's about making an impact. And really, how can I give as many kids out there the same opportunity or even the opportunity that what this country is kind of giving me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coming from an African immigrant that didn't really have a lot of resources when I first got over here to ending up at a company like Apple, and
Mm-hmm.
Silicon Valley and having success, et cetera, right? That's great. But it's like, okay, I need to do something with that because
Mm-hmm.
people, the reason why I get to where I am today is because people are willing to take a chance on me. People are willing to bet on me, right? I didn't have anything, they didn't have to, but they chose to, right? So how can I give that same opportunity to kids out there as well in emerging markets out here and everywhere, right? So it's
Wow.
about what can I do to create something really, really, valuable for others as well. And that's what Project Vibranium is. In Africa, as you mentioned, is like it's going to be, there's a billion people plus say that's projected to be there by 2030. And how can we use technology to really solve hard problems there that's going to make a big difference, right? Whether it's increasing, yields that farmers produce every single year. We still
Mm-hmm.
don't have, constant electricity supply in most African countries. The average, person there doesn't have access to the basic things
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to, affordable housing, food, education, healthcare, etc. We have a lot of opportunities there. So, how do I take all of the experiences that I've kind of
Wow.
gained over the last 20 plus years and really apply that in a way that's very, very meaningful and really solve big issues there like energy, transportation, education, helping reduce the abuse of kids over there, for example, giving them better needs or access to things like, hygienic products for little girls over there and stuff like that as they get into puberty. I mean, there's so many opportunities, right? So I
So
just want
how
to turn a blind onto that. And that's what Project Vibranium is. But the other legacy part of it for me is I'm launching this company or organization called the Mansa Foundation, Mansa Musa
right,
Foundation.
right.
So that should be launching here in the next, few days, actually. I'm putting
Wow.
together the video to kind of launch it.
Yeah.
But as I look back, it's like, how do I make an impact? How do I give everyone else a chance that this country kind of gave me? And that's my way of kind of giving back, but also kind of pushing the envelope as well.
So my question real quick, the Mansa Foundation, who does that
So,
serve? What group does
yes.
that serve?
Ooh, every group.
Okay,
Okay,
every
I know
group.
it's kind of a
Okay.
broad thing,
Okay, no,
but a
no,
couple
no,
of
no.
things.
That's good.
Few things the Mental Illness Foundation is meant to do is one, again, raise social awareness of who Mansa Musa was. You know, a lot of people don't really know about him. Again, we were taught about Napoleon and Columbus and all this other stuff, which
Mm-hmm,
is
mm-hmm,
great. Again, I appreciate it,
mm-hmm.
but it's important for us as people of color to kind of know also what our roots are. And again, that we are descendants of greatness, we're from royalty, it flows in our blood, and it kind of really impacts how we see ourselves. So that was like super, super important for me to kind of make sure that people knew about who this person was. That was kind of one thing, and then the other piece of it is too is just kind of making sure that people knew what humanizing the immigrant experience. That was also another piece of it too as well.
Right,
So
right, right, right.
yeah.
Well, we have Black History Month coming next month. You know, I can see you giving talks about your book. It would just be so timely and so perfect. And I can imagine opportunities that are going to be coming and knocking your way. And I look forward to it as well as referring you to some of the people that I know that are looking for speakers for Black History Month
Awesome,
as well.
awesome.
Totally,
I'm really
totally
looking
great.
forward to it. Totally.
So, and
I know.
on that note, when are we going to start the book tour? Um, I know with COVID, you have to put that probably a little bit on hold, but do we have a virtual book tour coming?
I think I'll have to work with you to put that together. But yes, we definitely have it coming. It's just a question of
Okay.
figuring out the logistics to make it work. Super
So,
excited about it, and can't wait to get it off the ground.
well, one thing I wanted to leave you with, I wanted to surprise you. I actually just started my Amazon store. I'm an influencer,
Oh,
so I'm so excited. And so,
congratulations.
thank you. And I'm always sharing wonderful things. And I have one section in my Amazon store where I have wonderful Opulent Wealth books, and your book is there.
Oh, wow.
So
I feel
every
so
single
special. Thank
time
you
that
so
I
much,
am
Kat.
talking about, they are going to go to that and see your
Awesome,
book in
awesome. Thank
there.
you.
So I'm excited.
I appreciate that.
So, my pleasure. I always like to leave on four things that I like to ask my guests that we take away from our talk. And this is just off the cuff. This is off the cuff. It's just nothing. It's like no brainers. So, what is your favorite food that brings you joy?
Ooh, I love seafood.
Oh, seafood. I love it.
Absolutely. Lobster tail is my favorite.
Oh, that's my favorite too. Oh my gosh. And my mom's.
Yeah,
And what's your favorite color?
red.
Red. Okay. All right. And tell me one thing you find beauty in that you find so beautiful.
I find beauty in everything.
Okay.
Yeah,
I love
I
it.
find beauty in everything.
That's some positive energy,
Yeah.
Momar. That is positive energy. And I leave you with this last question because I know you are a very well versed traveler. Is there any place on the world that you haven't traveled that's on the first of your map that you would love to go to and visit? What place would that be?
Bali.
Bali.
Yeah, I've
Really?
seen some amazing, amazing footage. I've heard it's amazing. I haven't been there yet, but I'm really looking forward to visiting whenever times allow.
Wow.
But what I've seen, it kind of very, very scenic, very, very beautiful, very organic. So reminds me a lot of being back home, I didn't see a lot of the concrete and the glass, if you will. It seems to be very, very natural. And they figured out a way to kind of, build these amazing experiences in the environment that's kind of natural and pure and very authentic and organic without building all this other stuff. So it looks very, very organic, and I'd love to visit some point.
Do you know anytime soon on the map you might be visiting?
Definitely this year for sure.
All
Yeah.
right. I love it. I love it. I love it. Momar, it has been a pleasure. Again, this is Momar Njai, and he is the author of the book Shadows of Exile, The Return of the African King. And I recommend you all to go and to personally get a copy of this book. Is there any last words that you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, I just wanted to take a moment, Kim, to really thank you for being very supportive of me as an author and for supporting the book and really using this platform, this amazing podcast to really promote, and just kind of uplift your people. I really, really appreciate that. And on behalf of people that have appeared in your podcast and that will be appearing in the future, I just want to say thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. And I have listed all of Momar's contact information. It will be listed in the podcast as well as on our virtual. So no worries. All his information is already going to be listed there. So Momar, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing the movie. I look forward to seeing the script when it comes
Thank you
out.
so much.
And tell me this billboard real quickly that's in Oakland. It's phenomenal. I posted it on Facebook. Thank you so
Yes.
much for sharing it. He has a billboard of his book. It's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. Oh my
Yeah.
God, the reaction has been, completely crazy with people just
Who
kind of
does
calling it. It's
that?
like, oh my God, yeah, exactly. But
Who does that?
great. I know. But one thing I tell people is, when with the billboard a couple of months ago now, it isn't just my story. It's all of our collective story as immigrants, people of color, of people that are all trying to find our way and really discover who we really truly are. And I feel like it's not just, my book up there, it's all of our stories collectively. And let's continue to kind of put our stories out there. Let's continue to put our narrative out there. And that's how we all, elevate ourselves and each other. So
I
thank you.
love it. That's a great note to end. Thank you. Let's all continue collectively to share our stories. Momar, it has been a pleasure. Thank you very much. This is Kim Evans with Inspired Conversations. Thank
Thanks,
you so
Kim.
much.
Thanks for inspiring us. Have a good one.
Yes.